Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Doctor and my fellow friend. So today our group represent our part in chapter 3, which is about learning, motivation and performance. Before we start the presentation, I'm glad to introduce our group member. My name is Aidin Arisha binti Muhammad Zamri, matric number 262179, Nurul Fakihah, Umi Najwa, Divian, Siti Nushamimi and Rizalman.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon to Dr. Darata and my fellow friends. I am Nurul Fakihah binti Muhammad Salahuddin, my metric number 270729. Today I will present there are 3 key factors determine performance. First, knowledge key attitude, which is a positive attitude will help to motivate a person to give their best and try to maximize performance. Attitude is one of the most important factors of learning. Second is environment. For example, the physical environment at work is critical to employee performance, socialization, and health. It's generally understood that the physical design of office and the environmental conditions at workplace. Lastly is motivation, motivation is increased interest and this make trainers more attentive. This results in a better understanding of this lesson and keep being taught. That's all from me. Okay, what does motivation do? Motivation is focused behavior on goal-directed activity. It determines the strength of our response, how much effort we expend, and how long we persist. Next, the effect of motivation to learn on training effectiveness. Training works when first, people learn. Second, apply what they learn to their job and performance improve. That's all from me. Thank you. Okay, we move to the next slide, which is content theory of motivation is divided to 2 factors, which is internal factors and external factors. Internal factor is needs and motive, while the external factors is a job and work situation. Okay, the slide shows about ERG theory of needs, which is from Adler ERG theory, suggests that there are 3 groups of core needs. First is existence, second is relatedness, and third is growth. Since the acronym ERG, Adler purpose that when a certain category of needs is it being met, people will redouble their efforts to fulfill needs in a lower category. Okay, that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Umi Najwa binti Mat Ismail. My number matric is 273960. Okay, I will explain about ERG, theory of need. Okay, this theory developed by Clayton Paul Alderfer, which is Alderfer, summarized the change to Maslow hierarchy of need in Alderfer ERG theory. The first one is existence. Existence is about psychological and security. It's our basic material requirement for living, such as air, food, water, and related safety, such as property, employment, and other else. The second one is relatedness. Okay, relatedness is about value and accepted by others. This is about the importance of maintaining interpersonal relationship. Okay, relatedness need have to do with the importance of maintaining interpersonal relationship. These needs are based in social interaction with others, aligned with Maslow theory needs. Such as friendship, family, and esteem-related needs, which is gain respect for others. The third one and the last one is growth. Growth is about feeling of self-worth and competency. This describe our interested desire to our personal development. Okay, growth need describe to our instinctive desire for personal development. This need align with the other portion of Maslow hierarchy related need, such as self-esteem, self-confidence, and achievement, and also self-actualization, such as morality, creativity, problem solving, and discovery. This one, I will explain about classical conditioning process, also known as Pavlovian. Okay. The first one is the first stage, which is before conditioning. Okay. In this stage, the unconditioned stimuli produce unconditioned response in an organism. Okay. In the basic term, this means a stimulus in the environment has produced a behavior response which is unlearned, and therefore is a natural response which has not been taught. In this respect, no new behavior has been learned yet. The second one is during conditioning. A stimulus which produces no response is associated with the unconditioned stimulus, at which point now become known as conditioned stimuli. For classical to be effective, the conditioned stimuli should occur before the unconditioned stimuli rather than and after it or during the same time. Thus, the conditioned stimuli act as a type of signal or cue for unconditioned stimuli. Okay, the third one and the lastly is after conditioning. Now, the conditioned stimuli has been associated with the unconditioned stimuli to create new conditioning response. Okay. Now, the conditioned stimuli has been associated with the unconditioned stimuli to create a new conditioned response for the dog. I will explain about behavioral model of learning. Okay. The first one is stimuli. Okay, stimuli is any object or event that elicit a sensory of behavioral response in organism. In behavioral psychology, such as classical and operant conditioning, a stimuli constitute the basic for the behavior. Okay, the next one is a response. Okay, response is the given by learner. Okay, the last one is consequences. Consequences is a following performance like intelligence, abilities, aptitudes, or learning style enter into a behavioral scientist theory of learning. Okay. Next, I will explain about reinforcement theory of motivation. The first one is positive reinforcement. When new behavior add positive consequence. Okay, the next one is new reinforcement. Okay, new reinforcement is when new behavior remove negative consequence. The next one is punishment. Okay, punishment is when new behavior add negative consequence. Okay, the last one is extinction. Okay, extinction is when new behavior remove positive consequence.
Hi guys, my name is Divian Gopalakrishnan, metric number 265482, and today I want to present about reinforcement theory of motivation. So, reinforcement theory of motivation aims to achieving the desired level of motivation among the employees by means of reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. This theory proposed by B.F. Skinner and his associates. It states that individuals' behavior is a function of consequence. It based off the concept of law or effect. For example, behavior of individual towards the positive consequence tends to repeat, but the behavior of individual towards negative consequence tends not to repeat. The behavior approach of to motivations is in 3 stages. First is stimulus, then response, then consequence. Consequence is the thing that reinforce or punish. The second slide is about type of consequence that we follow. The consequence is divided into 4: positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. Positive reinforcement explains that when an employee gives a positive and a required behavior, the response towards them should be a positive. Positive behavior followed by a positive consequence. Manager will praise the employee if the positive reinforcement happen. For the negative reinforcement, this implies rewarding an employee by removing a negative consequence. Both positive and negative reinforcement can be used for the increasing the desirable. Managers stop nagging the employee. For the third thing is punishment. Punishment refers to the imposing negative consequence or removing positive consequence with a view to preventing the employees from repeating undesirable and uncalled of behavior. So, for example, manager demotes the employee. The last thing is extinction. It implies the absence of reinforcement. In other words, extinction implies lowering the probability of undesirable behavior by removing for that of kind of behavior. Manager ignore the behavior. The third slide is about expectancy theory. The expectancy theory was proposed by Victor Rome. The expectancy theory states that employee motivation is an outcome of how an individual wants a reward. The expectancy is the faith that better effort will be result in a better performance. Expectancy is influenced by the factors such as position of appropriate skills for performing the job, availability of right resource, availability of crucial information, and getting a required support for completing a job. The process of expectancy theory is effort followed by performance, followed by reward, followed by value of the reward. The fourth slide is about variable involved. In expectancy theory, there is three variables that involve: expectancy, instrumentality, valence. So, expectancy is the belief that if you work hard, you will be able to hit the target set by your manager. Instrumentality is assessment of how likely you are to receive a reward if you hit the target that had been set for you. The valence is perceived value of the reward to you. Expectancy is effort more than performance. Instrumentality is performance more than outcome, and valence is outcome more than reward. The fifth slide is about some training implication of cognitive and behaviorist learning theory. For the issue learning role, the cognitive approach is active, self-direct, and self-evaluating. The behaviorist approach is passive, dependent. For the issues that instructor role, the cognitive approach is facilitator, coordinator, and presenter. The behavioral approach is director, monitor, and evaluator. For the training content issue, the cognitive approach is problem or task. For the behavioral approach, subject and oriented. For the learning motivation issues, the cognitive approach is more internally motivated. Behaviorist approach more externally motivated. This is the difference between the cognitive and behaviorist approach.
Okay, next is the part 2 of training implication of cognitive and behaviorist learning theory. For the training climate issues, the cognitive approach is relaxed, mutually trustful, and respectful collaborative. Meanwhile, the behaviorist approach formal, authority-oriented, judgmental, competitive. For instructional goals issue, the cognitive approach were collaboratively developed and the behaviorist approach were developed by instructor. For the instructional activities, the cognitive approach were interactive project-oriented, and experiential. The behaviorist approach for instructional activities were directive, individuals, and subject-oriented. Social learning theory. There are 4 main points for this theory, which is attention,
retention, reproduction, and the last one is motivation. For the attention, is concentrate effort while observation. The factors for the attention is characteristic of model and observation skill. After that is retention. It retains behavior observed in the memory via language and imagination. For example, is symbolic coding, cognitive organization, and symbolic rehearsal. The next one is reproduction. Reproduction is repeat imitated behavior. The capability depends on physical ability, psychomotor of imitating skills, and memory. And the last component in social learning theory is motivation. Imitation happens when there is positive reinforcement and least likely when reinforced negatively. A few types of reinforcement is direct reinforcement and self-reinforcement. Next is Garnier-Briggs 9 events of instruction. The 9 instructional events are gaining attention, informing the trainee of goal, stimulating recall of prior knowledge, presenting the material, providing learning guidance, eliciting the performance, providing feedback during training, assessing performance at the end of the training, and the last one is enhancing retention and transfer. Okay, now I will share about an example of a lesson problem solving part 1. Learning objective. Given a drawing of a plot of land, the student will generate a plan for a sprinkler system that will cover at least 90% of the land using the least amount of materials, which is PVC pipe and sprinkler heads. Okay, the first one is gaining attention. The media for gaining attention is like instruction and overhead projector. It shows pictures of sprinkler coverage of a plot of land that has highly successful, which is 90%, and one of unsuccessful, 70% coverage, and one using too many sprinkler heads, inviting attention to their differences. Okay, the second one is inform the learner of the objective. The media is same with the gaining attention, which is live instruction and overhead projector. The problem to be solved is to design the most efficient sprinkler system for a plot of ground, one that covers at least 90% of the ground using the least amount of pipe and sprinkler heads.
Okay, for the third instructional events in Garnier-Briggs 9 event of instruction is stimulate recall of requisites. In these events, trainer help the learners make sense of new information by relating it to something they already know or something they have already experienced. Make connections between what they are learning and their previous learning. Next is presenting stimulus material. Present the learner with the new information using learning strategies to provide effective and efficient instruction. Organize and chunk content in a meaningful way. Provide explanation after demonstration. For the providing learning guidance, offer the learner guidance by providing coaching on how to learn the skill. Give examples and advice of strategies to aid them in the learning content and of resources available to them. Next is exciting performance. Let the learner do something with the newly acquired behavior, skill or knowledge. Provide them with practice activities to activate the learning process. This activity allows the learner to internalize the new information like skill and knowledge and to ensure correct understanding and application of the knowledge or concepts. Okay, next is providing feedback. In this event, after the learner attempt to demonstrate their knowledge, trainer provide immediate feedback of the learner's performance to assess and facilitate learning. This is also a good time to reinforce any important points. Another one is assessing performance. In order to evaluate the effectiveness of the instructional events, administer test the learner to determine if the expected learning outcomes has been achieved. Performance should be based on previously stated objectives. The last one is enhancing retention and transfer. Trainer give the learner resources that enhance retention and transfer of knowledge so that they are able to internalize the new knowledge and enhance his or her expertise. Repeated practice with effective feedback is the best way to ensure that people retain information and use it effectively. There are few factors that affecting motivation to learn and transfer of training. First is cognitive ability. Cognitive ability are ability and aptitude assessment relate to individuals' trainability, influence on attentional resources capability, successfully acquire, utilize and maintain trained competencies. Next is self-efficacy. Ability to perform a given task influence on motivation and belief in their ability to perform certain skills. While motivation is process that account for an individual's intensity, direction and persistence of effort toward attaining a goal. The last one is perceived utility of training, which is credibility of new skills, recognition of a need to improve, match between training and requirement, impact of training skills and practicability of the skills.
As conclusion, we can conclude that employee motivation is very important for a successful organization. So the company should focus on its order to stay competitive in the market and avoid some problem that will affect the organization. Thus, effective motivational technique should be practiced at the workplace. So that's all from us. Thank you.